Long before the name Saudi Arabia existed, the Arabian Peninsula was home to powerful ancient civilizations. The Nabatean kingdom, known for its capital Petra, and the Kinda and Liyan tribes dominated parts of the region. These were people of the desert, traders, poets, and warriors. They lived on trade routes connecting Persia, Rome, India, and Africa, and Mecca was already rising as a spiritual and commercial center. In the 6th century, the most transformative event in Arabian history took place: the birth of the Prophet Muhammad in Mecca around 570 CE. By the time of his death in 632 CE, the entire Arabian Peninsula was united under Islam. But after that, Arabia gradually faded from the spotlight of world power, splintered into tribal divisions, ruled by local dynasties and largely untouched by foreign powers, until the 20th century. The first seeds of modern Saudi Arabia were planted in 1744, when a man named Muhammad ibn Saud, a local tribal leader in Diriyah, formed a pact with the reformer Muhammad ibn Abd al-Wahhab. This alliance was revolutionary. Ibn Abd al-Wahhab promoted a return to what he believed was a pure, uncorrupted version of Islam. His ideology, what many today call Wahhabism, emphasized strict monotheism and rejected practices seen as innovations. Together, religion and politics merged, and the Saudi Wahhabi alliance began a series of military campaigns to expand across the Arabian Peninsula. But in 1818, their early gains were crushed by the Ottoman Empire, which sent an Egyptian army to destroy Diriyah. The House of Saud collapsed temporarily. Fast forward to the 20th century. In 1902, a young warrior prince named Abdulaziz ibn Saud led a daring raid and recaptured Riyadh, his ancestral home. From this point he began a decades-long campaign to unite the Arabian Peninsula under his rule. He fought rival tribes, defeated the Rashidi dynasty, and expanded his domain through a mix of military force, marriage alliances, and diplomacy. In 1925, his forces conquered Mecca and Medina, the two holiest cities in Islam, previously ruled by the Hashemite Sharifs. In 1932, he officially declared the establishment of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, naming it after his family. In the early 1930s, the new Saudi kingdom was still poor and underdeveloped, but in 1938, everything changed. American geologists discovered vast oil reserves in Dhahran. This was the moment that changed the course of history, not just for Saudi Arabia, but for the world. Saudi Arabia signed agreements with American oil companies, leading to the creation of Aramco. The once tribal kingdom suddenly became an energy superpower. Oil money poured in. With these revenues, the Saudis modernized infrastructure, built roads, schools, hospitals, and began constructing a new national identity rooted in religion, monarchy, and oil wealth. Saudi Arabia is not just a monarchy, it's an Islamic monarchy governed by Sharia law, with deep ties to Sunni Islamic principles. The alliance between the House of Saud and Wahhabi clerics has shaped everything, from education, to laws, to social life. This has made the country unique and controversial, modern in its wealth and infrastructure, but deeply conservative in its religious practices. Women couldn't drive until 2018. Public religious practice for non-Muslims is still restricted. Critics argue about freedom of speech, human rights, and religious intolerance. But the leadership always maintained, Saudi Arabia is the guardian of Islam's holiest sites, and it must set the example. The kingdom's path wasn't without turbulence. In 1979, Islamic extremists stormed the Grand Mosque in Mecca, shocking the world. The incident forced the government to tighten religious controls. In 1990, after Iraq's invasion of Kuwait, Saudi Arabia allowed US troops on its soil, sparking controversy and contributing to the rise of figures like Osama bin Laden, who saw it as a betrayal of Islamic lands. Saudi Arabia also faced growing internal pressure, demands for reforms, and scrutiny over its human rights record, especially after the murder of journalist Jamal Khashoggi in 2018, which drew intense international condemnation. Enter Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, known as MBS. He launched a bold reform plan called Vision 2030, aimed at reducing Saudi Arabia's dependence on oil, modernizing its economy, and opening up its society. Women were granted the right to drive, cinemas reopened, tourism was launched, foreign investment was encouraged. But it's a tightrope, pushing reform without alienating conservative religious elements. MBS is seen as a modernizer by some, an authoritarian by others, especially after crackdowns on dissent. Still, Saudi Arabia is changing, and rapidly. But here's the paradox. Can a country built on oil, religion, and monarchy truly transition into a modern, diversified global economy? without risking instability? That's the central challenge facing Saudi Arabia today. How do you modernize, liberalize, and diversify, while keeping the power of the monarchy intact and religious factions satisfied? This balancing act plays out every day. Take women's rights. Reforms have been introduced, but guardianship laws and gender inequality still linger. Or take economic reform. Vision 2030 plans a shift to sectors like tourism, technology, and entertainment, but oil still makes up around 70% of government revenue. And geopolitically, Saudi Arabia walks a tightrope. It's close to the US, but also seeks better ties with China. It's involved in the Yemen conflict, but wants to portray itself as a peace broker in the region. It's funding massive futuristic projects like Neom City, a $500 billion tech city in the desert. But critics question whether it's a bold vision or a costly illusion. So what was the true turning point in Saudi history? Some say it was the founding of the kingdom in 1932, others point to the discovery of oil in 1938. But arguably, the most defining moment is happening right now. The 2020s are shaping a new Saudi Arabia. What happens in the next 10 years may redefine the entire identity of the kingdom, economically, culturally, and politically. Because never before has the monarchy opened up so quickly, changed so fast, or faced such enormous global attention. From tribal roots and religious revolutions to oil booms and global power, Saudi Arabia's history is one of constant transformation. It is a land of paradoxes. Ancient traditions mixed with ultra-modern skyscrapers, strict religion paired with growing pop concerts, and monarchy pushing economic reform. The question isn't where it came from, it's where it's going next. Want to understand how oil changed the entire Middle East? Tap the next video on screen.